let's talk a little bit about types of data. And this is going to be kind of a review of quantitative versus qualitative data that we've seen earlier in the semester. Like all data, bivariate data can be either quantitative, in other words, numerical, where we're using the numbers as numbers. And so, for example, you could meaningfully wonder what's the biggest number, what's the smallest number, what's the average number. Unlike with something, say, Social Security numbers, where it makes no sense to be happy that your number is bigger than your sister's number or something like that. So anyway, data can be either quantitative, numerical, or qualitative. And qualitative data, remember, is also called categorical data because it basically puts your data into categories. To see a few examples of this in the bivariate context, for a population of senior adults, the variable x gives height in inches and the variable y measures weight in pounds. These are both numerical, and it makes sense to think of them as numbers. It makes sense to ask who has the larger height or who has the smaller weight. So these are both quantitative. Let's look at example 2. For a population of children at an elementary school, X gives the name of the teacher, so the teacher of each particular student, and Y gives their favorite subject, again, the favorite subject of one particular student. These are pretty obviously not numerical, so they're certainly not quantitative. In fact, they are both qualitative. Example 3. For a population of flowers in a garden, X measures the flower color, and Y measures the number of hummingbirds that visited the flower. Now, in this case, X is clearly qualitative. It has nothing to do with numerical values. But Y, it's clearly a number, but would it make sense to use the number of hummingbirds like a number? So, for example, would it make sense to ask, are there more hummingbirds visiting red flowers than blue flowers? Or what's the average number of hummingbirds that visit a flower? Yeah, those questions make sense. So Y is quantitative. For the remainder of this section, we're going to talk about representing quantitative data and qualitative data. If both variables are quantitative, we typically use a scatter plot, which is also called a scatter graph. So that's something like this. And in the next video, you'll get some practice with scatter plots. On the other hand, if one or both variables are qualitative, we typically use a table that's called a contingency table. So that's something that looks like this, and we'll talk about those a little later on.